Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and as always, it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday. We got a lot to talk about on today's show like we normally do. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys to be part of the show. It's very important here. We got a new graphic for this. So to get your comments recognized in the chat and I highlight them during the broadcast, make sure to go to the following link, streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. It really helps the show. It makes the show even better. It makes you, the audience, part of the show. And that's really what this is all about is, interacting with the viewers. And that's something that I want to continue to do. Not just with this podcast, but also the baseball podcast as well, is to give you guys your moment and to recognize you in the broadcast. So once again, so make sure to go to the link there. And then, of course, for the bonus coverage materials that are not covered by this broadcast, I hit the wrong thing, make sure to go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network, and that is where you could find all the exclusive content for my podcasts as well as the other podcasts here on the GSMC Sports Network. So with that, let's get into what we are going to talk about today. So obviously, to start off the show, we're going to talk about the NFC South and the mayhem that's going on with that division because it seems like nobody wants to take it. So we'll get into that. Then in the second part of the show, we're going to talk about Tyreek Hill and him being added to the injury report this week. We'll talk about that and how that can impact the Dolphins-Patriots game. Then in the third part of the show, we're going to talk about Brock Purdy being put into concussion protocol, and it looks like Sam Darnold is in line to start on Sunday, so we'll get into that. And then we will preview tonight's game between the Buffalo Bills and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So let's get right into the first topic of the show, which is discussing the NFC South. So yesterday I talked about the NFC North. I talked about some of the teams and how they did over the weekend. So I want to get into the NFC South because it's a very interesting division. Because right now you have the Falcons who are in first place. They're 4-3 on the season. And I still look at them. I don't think they're going to win the division. I still would choose either the Saints or the Bucs to win the division. Even though the Saints haven't been playing good football this season, but Desmond Ridder continues to turn the ball over. I just don't really. The quarterback position, I think, is what ultimately is going to hold the Falcons back from winning this division. But right now, they beat the Bucs in Tampa, which, wasn't an easy game to win, and especially because, Desmond Ridder fumbled it 3 times. I still like either the Bucs or the Saints to win this division. But still, the Bucs, tonight's game is very important. Obviously, I'll go into more detail with that when we get into the final part of the show, but I still like either one of those two teams. But the Bucs have their issues on offense. They really couldn't get anything going on Sunday. But I like their defense. Sunday was a defensive battle. The Falcons' defense is not bad either. But the Bucs' defense is still pretty good. It's their offense you got to worry about. And tonight, in Buffalo, going up against a good defensive front. And also the other thing, too, is Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin, I know, we're both on the injury report as well. Baker's dealing with a knee injury. So we'll see what happens with that. And my dog's barking again. And then for the Saints, I really wasn't that high on the Saints going into this year. And really it's just because it spans back to last year, and Derek Carr really didn't have his best year last year. And going to the Saints, and, he reunited with Dennis Allen. I don't know. I just really wasn't a fan of the Saints coming into this year. But I think talent-wise, I would say they have, like, the most talent out of the other two teams. I mean, I think you would probably take Derek Carr over Baker and Desmond Ridder, even though Derek Carr hasn't been good this year, and a lot of people are calling him washed. So it's not like, I don't think it's that outlandish to say that. But now with the Chris Olave stuff, you don't know how that's going to impact, the season for the Saints going forward at the moment. So that's a wait and see thing. And the offense just really has not been good. The play calling is something that Saints fans are complaining about, and I mean, yeah, rightfully so. You watch last week's game, and it's really just checkdowns to Alvin Kamara. That's really what the offense was. And there was a couple of times during the game, in the second half, where you're like, oh, okay, here are the Saints. This is what they're supposed to be. But at the end of the day, it was like too little, too late. And they had a chance to tie the game against the Jags, and they couldn't get it in. So yeah, I mean, right now it's those three teams. It's really anybody's division at this point. I mean, I looked at the Bucs as the favorite just because they were 3-1. They beat the Saints on the road, and it was like, hey, they're not that bad. And then they lose to the Lions. They lose back-to-back home games. They lose to the Lions, which close game, and then they lose to the Falcons 16-13 when the Falcons turned the ball over. So. Nick Urillo in the chat. Kamara has 35 receptions in 4 games for 177 yards. Yeah. And a lot of it's checkdowns. And listen, it's good for fantasy. Don't get me wrong. I have Kamara in a few leagues, so I'm okay with it. But for the Saints, you got to open up the offense. You got to do something. And, I mean, Derek Carr is just not on the same page with his receivers. He's turned the ball over. I know the offensive line was a little banged up last week. But, you got to figure the Saints could be better than this. They can. They have a winnable game on Sunday against the Colts in Indy. So, I mean, listen, I don't know if they're going to win, but I think that's still a winnable game. I mean, you're going up against Gardner Minshew, who, listen, performed well against the Browns, but is a backup quarterback. So, we'll just have to wait and see there. Falcons, they're on the Falcons are on the road against the Titans, and Will Levis is actually going to be starting that game, so he'll be making his debut. But still, I mean, the Titans have a good defense. They did trade Kevin Byard, so the defense is not going to be as good, but it's still a tough game. When you got a quarterback that's turning the ball over, yeah, it's going to be tough. Is Olave playing? Right now, I think it's too soon to tell. I don't think there's any updates on it. I mean, we could check Sleeper, but because that's usually where they give updates. But I would assume he's not going to play. As of yesterday, it says he wasn't listed on the practice report. So I would think he's not going to play, but I would be kind of surprised if he plays. But we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, he is him and Derek Carr weren't on the same page even before all this. And I kind of feel for Derek Carr because he just seems like he can't catch a break with his wide receivers, getting in trouble. I kind of feel for him in that aspect that he's got to deal with this, off the field stuff with some of his teammates. But the Saints still got a game to play, and we'll see what happens on Sunday. But with this division though, I would still say the Bucs, even though I just don't feel I really don't feel great about it at all. They were 3-1, and you felt good about them, And then after they played the Lions, that was it. And then now they lost to the Falcons. But this division by no means is over. With the Falcons being in first place. I mean, the Panthers, if they won a couple of games, they'd be in this conversation. I haven't talked about them at all, but they're 0-6, and they don't really have a chance. If they, like I said, if they could have won maybe some of their games early on, maybe they'd be in the conversation. But they've already lost to the Saints. They've already lost to the Falcons the first 2 weeks of the season, I believe. So they're not really in the conversation. So right now you look at it's the other three teams. I still like the Bucs. I mean, you could call it Baker bias, but the Saints need to prove something to me. I think it's to me. I think it's still going to be either the Bucs or the Saints. But right now the Falcons, got the lead, and like I've talked about on the previous shows, the way my predictions have been going, you might want to maybe put a little wager down on the Falcons to win the division because I'm counting them out. I mean, they still have a chance to win the division. They're in the lead, and they're going to be right there towards the end. It's just I don't really like the quarterback play right now. Nick says, I like the Bucs, but I think the Bills have to bounce back tonight. Yeah, I agree with that. I will get into that when we talk about the game tonight, in the final part of the show. But, yeah, I mean, tonight's a big game for both teams. The Bucs, it's going to be really tough. But they have a good defense, and Josh Allen's been turning the ball over. So, you know what, they could take advantage of that. The other thing, too, is the Bucs just can't run the ball. They're one of the worst running teams in the NFL. And, I mean, I don't know what the whole situation was, but you wonder, why didn't they try to bring back Leonard Fournette? I don't know what the situation was with that. I mean, I guess because they thought Rachaad White was going to take the next step, but he's kind of gone backwards this year. Because I know even from a fantasy perspective, like myself and, some people liked him going into this year, also especially as a pass catcher, but he's kind of taken a step back, So I don't know. I think they should have kept Fournette, but for whatever reason they didn't want to bring him back, and some teams are looking at him, so he could be on a team at some point during the year. I think I saw I don't know what it was on. Was it on? I think on CBS. It was like a, I don't know if it was a hypothetical. Well, yeah, that's probably what it was. But, maybe the Bucs trying to get Derrick Henry. I mean, that would definitely help, with their running game. But I saw that on something. I don't remember. I think it might have been just a rumor on CBS. But again, that's a rumor. It doesn't mean anything. That was just something that I happened to come across briefly. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, the trade deadline is, next week. So whatever happens, we'll talk about it. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about the NFC South. Who do you guys think is going to win the division? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, so with that, we're going to take our first break of the show. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about Tyreek Hill and him being added to the injury report this week. It's possible he might miss some time. So, we'll talk about that, how that's going to impact Sunday's game against the Patriots. And, that'll be the second part of the show when we come back. So, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are going to talk about Tyreek Hill and him being added to the injury report this week, dealing with a hip injury. And it's possible that he might actually miss some time. I saw, like, on the Sleeper app, there were reports that the Dolphins are preparing to be without Tyreek Hill for some time, or at least for Sunday. But that's big if he misses time, because I have a graphic from StatMuse, so we'll go through that actually, and it's Tua splits with and without Tyreek Hill. So we'll get that up. Yeah. So again, I got this off of StatMuse. So on the top is his numbers with Tyreek Hill, and then on the bottom is his numbers without Tyreek Hill. And Tua is a completely different quarterback. And again, like, he's not going to miss. I mean, if he misses time, it's not going to be he's going to be out for, like, the rest of the year or anything. I mean, they're just going to have to deal with it if it's like 1 or 2 games. I would imagine. I mean, I don't know the severity of the injury. But on the top, you get 20 games with Tyreek Hill, and the bottom is 23 without. And, like I said, completely different quarterback without Tyreek Hill. I mean, he's passing for almost 300 yards with him, and then, he's not even in the 200s. He's under 200 yards per game without him. The passing yards are up, completion percentage, passer rating. The interceptions are around the same, but the touchdowns are way up, 13. The interception percentage is around the same. Got sacked more without Tyreek Hill. But again, the offensive line is definitely better than when Tua first got into the league. But yeah. I mean, it's a big difference. It's a big difference. But I just that was just something I wanted to bring up. Again, I'm not that I'm trying to push a narrative or anything, but I just wanted to pull this up just because Tua's a completely different quarterback without Tyreek Hill. Now, of course, you still got Jalen Waddle, and you got the running game with Mostert. Jeff Wilson came back this past week. But yeah, I mean, if Tyreek Hill misses a game, I mean, that's a big loss there. And they're gonna have to make up that production. I mean, again, I think the Dolphins will still be okay, but this also begs the question: are they on upset alert this week? And they're playing against the Patriots, a team that they won against earlier in the year. But the Patriots are coming in, after a big win against the Bills. They've already played Miami this year, and now they're not going to have to game plan for Tyreek Hill possibly if he misses this game. So that does beg the question: are the Dolphins on upset alert this week? For me personally, I'd probably still say no. I do think, like, right now the game, the spread for this game, it was like 9.5. So you would figure that's going to go down if Tyreek Hill ends up not playing this week. So let's actually take a quick look at that. Yeah, so right now the Dolphins are favored by 9. I mean, I still would take the Dolphins. Even so, just because the Patriots have been struggling, have struggled in Miami in years past. So I'd probably still side with the Dolphins in this game. But again, the Patriots, they're coming off of a big win. Mac Jones looked good. And I think most people would probably say the Bills' defense is better than the Dolphins' defense. So we'll see. But that's just still something to keep an eye on. With Tyreek Hill being out. If he is out. But it just goes to show you though, like, with some of these quarterbacks, you just got to give him a number one wide receiver. and see if they could be successful. And Tua, listen, Waddle's a solid receiver, but you add Tyreek Hill, and Tua's numbers have gone up, and that's what you got to do. And Tua's a guy that's benefited from having an elite wide receiver added to, his team. You look at, what the Bears did with Justin Fields. They had DJ Moore, and yeah, they had that great game against the Commanders, but, they've struggled. They've really struggled. So, Tua's responded when they added an elite wide receiver to his team. He's looked like a much better quarterback. But that's what you got to do. That's what you got to do. And, there's a lot of quarterbacks that they don't have that. So, and Mac Jones is one of them, the Patriots didn't add any elite wide receivers for him. His best receiver is Kendrick Bourne, basically. So that's what you got to do for these quarterbacks. But yeah, this game coming up on Sunday, obviously we'll preview it tomorrow. Again, the game's in Miami. So, and obviously they played each other. It was a close game in New England. I think it was only a one-score game. So, Patriots maybe want to get some revenge. I don't think that I don't think they will, but losing Tyreek Hill is big, and there's no A-Chan in this game. He's still going to be out till I think week after the Dolphins bye week. So I think week 11 he's supposed to come back. Week 11, week 12. So they're going to get him back. But Mostert, he's ran the ball incredibly well this year. And I made a bad trade in one of my fantasy leagues before the year started because I just didn't think Mostert was going to be a factor, really. Fantasy-wise, I just thought, running backs getting older. He's like a 31-year-old running back. And he just and also the other thing, too, is he gets injured a lot as well. So I just was like, I think I'm going to trade him. And he's been a great running back for fantasy. So, this Dolphins offense, I went over the statistics yesterday. They lead pretty much every offensive category. Because they got track stars everywhere. Mostert, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, A-Chan when he comes back. You got Cedric Wilson, Robbie Anderson. Those are guys. Chosen. That's his name. But those guys are going to have to step up if Tyreek Hill misses Sunday. I did see, though, that, sometimes I think they have their veteran players rest on Wednesdays, so we'll see. If he doesn't practice today, then, it's not good. And, again, when it comes to fantasy, I got him in a couple of leagues. So, that's also big if he, misses time for fantasy owners, too, because he's been arguably the best fantasy player this year. So, but we'll see how this game plays out. The Patriots defense is just it's gonna be easier for them when they don't have to deal with Tyreek Hill. And also, can Mac Jones build off of what he did against the Bills, or is this just a one-game thing? Because you got to remember also the Bills weren't coming into that game, hot. And, Josh Allen turns the ball over immediately to start the game. And the Patriots were up 10-0. And I give Mac Jones a lot of credit for going down the field and, them scoring that game-winning touchdown. And he had a good game. Didn't throw any picks. So, yeah, we'll see how this game goes. But, again, it's in Miami. It's going to be tough. But, without Tyreek Hill, the game definitely gets easier. But I don't know if that I don't think that's going to be enough. I think it's the Dolphins ultimately will still win the game. The game might be closer, but the other thing too is, we're all guilty of it. From week to week, the Patriots win. You're like, oh, the Patriots, they might be back. But, then they go up against the Dolphins and then they lose by like 3 scores. And you're like, okay, well, that was just a fluke game. So you don't want to fall victim to that. And I feel like, some of us may be, doing that. But for others, they're like, the Patriots are still bad. Yeah, I mean, Patriots got to string together a couple of wins. Then we can have a real conversation. But I think winning against the Bills on Sunday, that at least showed you something. And, Mac Jones played well. So, I mean, I don't think you should discount that completely. But, man, my dog today just barks at everything. But yeah, I don't think you should discount that, but it, it's definitely, you got to see the Patriots string together a couple of wins. So, yeah. But, once again, but yeah, that's pretty much it with this segment. So but once again, I just wanted to remind you guys, when it comes to, donating, to the show, obviously it's a great way to get involved in the broadcast. When you comment something and, it basically highlights the comment when you do that. And I automatically will, answer it during the show. Again, it's a great way to, interact between the, myself, the host, and the viewer, you guys. It's a great way to get you, into the broadcast, become a part of the show, essentially. And again, that's really what it's all about. So, in order to do that, make sure to go to streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. It helps the show. It makes the broadcast better. Make sure to go and do that if you want to, again, become part of the show. And then obviously, when it comes to the bonus coverage, make sure to go to patreon.com and look up GSMC Sports Network, and that is where you're going to find all the exclusive content from all the podcasts here on the GSMC Sports Network, my podcast, as well as the other podcasts on here too. So, yeah, just wanted to, again, remind you guys about that as well. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it when talking about the Tyreek Hill injury. So obviously, it's Thursday, so we'll see, how today goes, tomorrow. And he's gotten dinged up in a couple of games this year. So we'll see how it all shapes out. You hope that he does play. But, like I said, the Dolphins supposedly are prepping to play this game on Sunday without him. So we'll see how it goes. But with that, we are going to take our second break of the show. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about another player that is injured right now, and that is Brock Purdy. Right now is in concussion protocol. Sam Darnold is in line to start on Sunday, so we'll get into all that when we come back from our second break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to discuss the latest news on quarterback Brock Purdy getting put into concussion protocol. And it looks like Sam Darnold is going to start on Sunday for the 49ers against the Cincinnati Bengals. And yeah, this kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think anything was reported after the game, but yeah, he is in concussion protocol, and Sam Darnold at the moment looks like he's going to start for the Niners. And the line for the game, it started at the Niners being favored by 5.5. Now it's gone down to 3.5. And again, that's not what you want for the Niners. They've now dropped 2 straight back-to-back road games. Losing that tough game against the Browns. They could have won that game, but Moody missed the field goal. And then, of course, this past Monday against the Vikings, Kirk Cousins and that Vikings offense put up over 450 yards on the 49ers defense, which everybody looks at as the best defense in football. And it looked far from it on Monday. So, yeah, now you're going to be without your starting quarterback, and Sam Darnold's going to be put in to start. And honestly, I'm curious to see how Sam Darnold will do, with this offense, because this is going to be the best supporting cast that he's had since entering the league back in 2018. Obviously, he was with the Jets, then he was with the Panthers, and now he's with the Niners. And we'll see how he is with the Niners. You're going to have McCaffrey, you'll have Kittle, you'll have Ayuk. You're just not going to have Debo. And I don't know what we'll have to look what the status is with Trent Williams, because I know he was also banged up after the Browns game as well a couple weeks ago. So I don't know what the status is with him. But yeah, that's another guy that the Niners kind of need, in this game. The Bengals front seven is respectable. So yeah, still questionable with the ankle. Debo obviously dealing with his injury, so he's still going to miss this game. But yeah, it's a big game for the Niners. They got to get right here. If they lose, this is going to be 3 in a row. And we'll see how Sam Darnold could do. I think Sam Darnold will still do well in this offense. You got so many playmakers. And you obviously have a great defense, behind you. So, by no means are the 49ers, do they have, no chance in this game, and they're in trouble. Well, if they lose this game, 5-3, yeah, it's not good, but, and honestly, we've seen this a lot with the 49ers over the past, several years. There's a lot of guys get hurt. And it looks like, especially during the COVID year, they were plagued with injuries. With whether it was their quarterback, Kittle was hurt that year. You had all those guys getting hurt against the Jets the second week of the season. Nick Bosa, I think who else? Somebody else on their defensive line too. I think was it Solomon Thomas when he was with them. But yeah, the 49ers dealt with a ton of injuries in 2020. They missed the playoffs. 2021, obviously they made the playoffs last year too. But this year, they're dealing with some injuries now. They've been fairly healthy, and now it's all of a sudden even Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner. They had to leave the games, but they came back. So at least that's good. But you're missing Debo, you're missing your left tackle. McCaffrey's dinged up a little bit. So yeah, it's definitely something to be concerned about with the Niners. Now you got your starting quarterback is in concussion protocol. So yeah, it's not good. But I think the Niners could definitely still win this game. The Bengals, obviously they're coming off of a bye. But they've they got off to a slow start this year, but they're starting to. They were at least starting to look better before the bye. But it's a tough game on the road. The 49ers are due for a win. But it might be a little bit tougher now with Purdy being out and Darnold starting. But I don't know. We'll see. I think the game's still going to be good. Like I said, Sam Darnold's got probably the best supporting cast that he's had, since he's entered the league. He obviously played with McCaffrey for a little bit, with the Panthers. So, but you got Kittle to throw to, you got Ayuk, so I think it'll the game's still gonna be good, but the thing is though, if Sam Darnold goes out there and performs really well, do you got to think about, hey, maybe we roll with Darnold and we keep Purdy on the bench? Could we see another scenario like that? I'm just throwing that out there. Not saying it's going to happen, but if Sam Darnold goes out there and throws like for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, something like that, do you think, maybe we stick with the hot hand here? Because the 49ers really like Sam Darnold. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, again, it's all speculation. Like we'll see how he performs on Sunday. But listen, Brock Purdy. It's also like Brock Purdy hasn't played well the last 2 weeks. He's turned the ball over. He had the 2 picks against the Vikings. So I mean, we'll have to see. It's just speculation. I'm not saying it will happen, but I could definitely see like a scenario in which that does happen at some point this year. As long as, well, again, if Brock Purdy only misses this game, I mean, if he misses more than one game and Darnold plays well, that's really when that scenario would come into play. But Brock Purdy is still the guy. I think if Brock Purdy has like a really bad game, then and Sam Darnold performs well in this game, then that's another way that could happen. But I don't know. But this game should still be very good. These two teams met a couple years ago. That was the year the Bengals went to the Super Bowl. That was 2021, and that was an overtime game. Niners won in overtime, and that game was insane because that was when Ayuk scored the game-winning touchdown, and like it wasn't ruled a touchdown initially, but then they reviewed it and it was a touchdown because it was weird. I don't know how to explain it, but people know. But if you guys remember the play, you know what I'm talking about. So Ayuk caught the ball, was running down the sideline, and then his foot dragged. And he reached over the goal line, and he scored the touchdown. It was something like that, but it was crazy. I can't really explain it, but just go back to 2021 Niners defeating the Bengals in overtime. That was a great game. Had some fantasy implications with that because I went up by some points with that because I had Ayuk. I ended up losing my matchup by like 3. Because my friend had Aaron Jones that night, and he ended up having a good game, so I ended up losing by only 3. But in the moment, I was like so happy because I was like that helped me out so much, and it was just only for me to lose that game. But yeah, always a lot of drama with the 49ers. I mean, the other night I ended up winning by .22. The Niners defense got me negative 3 points. I was better off just not starting a defense. And actually, I was going up against my friend who had Ayuk. So, that's funny enough there. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. But I know, I mean, it's not coming from me, but it's speculation. But there's definitely going to be people saying, well, if Sam Darnold goes out there and plays well, do the 49ers stick with him? I mean, I don't think it's going to happen. But there could be a scenario in which that it does. Me personally, again, it's always a wait and see. But, I mean, like I said, Sam Darnold goes out there and plays well on Sunday. Might have to think about it. Might have to. But, it's, again, should still be a good game, even with Purdy being out. You hope he gets back, and he's back to, full health with that, obviously. Concussions are no joke. But we'll just have to wait and see. And, again, the 49ers, I mean, they really need a win, because now it's, now they've lost 2 straight. I mean, they're back at home, which should definitely help. But, it's gonna be a tough game, especially also because the Bengals are coming off of a bye. They're rested, and Burrow again. That's another week for his calf to heal up. So the Bengals. It's gonna be tough, and the Niners. I mean, they're gonna have to get pressured in this game because you got picked apart by Kirk Cousins. And that offense, I mean, Burrow, obviously there's no Jefferson for the Vikings in that. There was no Jefferson for the Vikings in that game. Now you're going to go up against Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Yeah, you're going to have to get pressure because secondary might get picked apart again if you don't. So, that's a matchup to watch closely. The offensive line for the Bengals, how are they going to be against that 49ers front? Are they going to be able to do the same thing the Vikings did? We'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, we'll preview that game tomorrow, along with all the other games tomorrow. Obviously, tomorrow is a Football Friday. Tomorrow is a doubleheader. Tomorrow, you got got me doing the football podcast tomorrow, and you also have the baseball. Will be on after that, and we'll preview the World Series, which begins tomorrow as well, between the Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers. That's a matchup that everybody predicted. And everything's in full swing right now. We got the sports equinox. I think I mentioned that yesterday. The NBA's back in full swing. So we got sports coming back, and it's a great time to be a sports fan. Obviously, you got a game tonight that we will preview in the next segment. So when we come back from our final break of the show, we'll preview the Buccaneers and the Bills. Obviously, you want to talk about teams that need wins. These are 2 teams that definitely need wins. And obviously, we discussed it a little bit before in the chat. The Bills, I think, win tonight. But, both teams are definitely desperate. But let me know what you guys think. Your thoughts on the third topic of the show, with the Sam Darnold, Brock Purdy situation. If Sam Darnold plays well, do you stick with him or you go back to Purdy? Obviously, again, it's only one game, but still, there might be people that believe that. But like I said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So, or in the chat. So, with that, we're going to take our final break of the show, like I said, and then when we come back, we will discuss the Thursday night game between the Bills and the Buccaneers. So, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final part of the show, we are now going to preview tonight's game between the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills. So, obviously, these 2 teams are coming into this game needing a win. The Bills' offense has not looked good for a few weeks now. They didn't look good in London against the Jags. They, didn't score any of their points until the fourth quarter against the Giants, and they almost lost that game. And then they lost to the Patriots, who were looking like one of the worst teams in football. The Bucs, they're coming off of back-to-back home losses to the Lions and to the Falcons. So, they're in desperation for a win as well. they got back-to-back road games, then they have a home game, back-to-back road games again, home game, back-to-back road games, back-to-back home games, and then a road game. That's how their schedule is for the rest of the year. It's an interesting game. Obviously, you got two good defenses going at it, offenses that are kind of struggling. Right now, the line is, the Bills being favored by 9.5. So it's kind of gone up. I think in my spread pool, it's at 8.5. I just want to take a quick look at that. So it went up. Also, a couple of injuries in this game. Guys that are questionable. Like I mentioned before, Baker Mayfield is dealing with a knee injury. Chris Godwin, he was on the injury report as well. He's dealing with a neck injury, so he's questionable. Vita Vea on the defensive line, he's questionable with a groin. Matt Filer, he's out with a knee, one of their guards. As for the Bills, they're going to be missing Dawson Knox, who I think is going to be getting wrist surgery. Quentin Morris, another tight end, he's out with an ankle. Ed Oliver, he's questionable with the toe. So Dalton Kincaid's going to be the main guy when it comes to the tight end spot for the Bills. But yeah, I mean, this is a big game. This is a big game, and if you want to, the comparison between these two teams, so throwing and rushing, and points. The Bills are over the Bucs in all those categories. The Bills are averaging 263 passing yards per game. Bucs are averaging 227. Rushing yards, the Bills are 14th. They're middle of the pack. They're averaging 112.9. The Bucs are at the bottom. Or towards the bottom. They're 29th. They're averaging 77.8 yards per game. Rushing yards per game. And then points, the Bills are averaging 28.3 points, which is third in the NFL, and the Bucs are averaging 17.2, which is 26th. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball. The Bills are good against the pass. They're 11th. The Bucs are 27th. Bills are giving up an average of 223.4 passing yards per game. Bucs are giving up an average of 262.5. Rushing yards, the Bucs are 10th. They're giving up an average of 95.8 rushing yards per game. And the Bills haven't been great against the run. They're 23rd. They're giving up an average of 128.3. And then points allowed, both defenses are around the same. The Bills are 5th, and the Bucs are 6th. So, these are both good defensive teams. Bills are better against the pass. Bucs are better against the run, but they're, top 10 in points allowed. But the offenses are different. Now, the Bills are coming in struggling, obviously. They haven't looked great. They got the lead late in the game against the Patriots, but then the Patriots went down the field and scored a touchdown to win the game. They didn't score till the fourth quarter against the Giants, and they should have lost that game. And then they only had 7 points going into the fourth quarter against the Jags. And then they woke up, but again, that game was too little too late as well. They have not looked great. And I think, for me, like I said, I think this is a get-right game for them, the Bills. I just think, I don't know if the Bucs are going to be able to keep up with the Bills' offense. Baker Mayfield, he's been struggling. The Bucs have not been a good running team this season. So I feel like this has got to be a get-right game for the Bills. I think this is where, because for me, I probably would have taken the points, but I don't know. I don't want to take the points. I think the Bills should win by at least 10 points tonight. I think this has to be a get-right game for them. Otherwise, I really have no idea. The other thing too is, again, like I said, the Bucs are not a good running team, so they're going to be throwing most of the game. And the Bills the Bills defense is good against the pass. I expect the Bills defense to force some turnovers in this game. Again, what's going to keep the Bucs in this game is going to be their defense. Their defense is going to have to turn the ball, get turnovers off of Josh Allen, who can turn the ball over himself. So if the if the Bucs defense can keep it close, they got a chance. But I think if the Bucs are down by a couple of scores and they're gonna have to start throwing it to get back in this game, I don't know if they're gonna be able to do that. I think tonight they're like the Bills. They're kind of the Bucs are kind of one dimensional themselves because they have not been a very good running team this season. But we'll see. I mean, it's a big game tonight, and my in our sports group chat, Josh Allen said in his in his press conference, I need to think less and play football. And listen, I mean, this is the second time we've seen a quarterback say that this year. When Justin Fields is talking about how he was very robotic. So yeah, I mean, listen, Josh Allen has regressed since Brian Dable left. Turnovers have been a problem, but I mean, I still look at him as one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. The Bills, they almost beat the Patriots after, being asleep for most of the game. But this is a game they got to put together a good 4 quarters. You're going up against a good defense. So, and listen, they could have lost to the Giants. They should have lost to the Giants. And the Bucs, you look at them, is that they're definitely better than the Giants right now. So, and again, we got to see what the status is with Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin, because you miss. If Baker doesn't play, then they're gonna have to start, I guess, Kyle Trask. I don't think the Bucs are gonna want to do that. So there was a report. So I'm checking Sleeper now. So Baker is gonna play tonight. It also says Chris Godwin is also expected to play as well. So all right, so they're not gonna be missing those guys. But yeah, I mean, in this game, they're going to have to throw it a lot. They are going to have to throw it a lot because, if the Bills are right tonight, and the Bucs, they're not a very good scoring team. I don't think they're not going to be able to play keep up. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens, but I got the Bills winning by at least like 10. Say it's be like a 30-20 game. But we'll see. Hoping for a good game out of Mike Evans for fantasy. I think that's it. I don't think I have anybody else. Well, I have Baker, but I'm not starting him because I don't really like his matchup this week. Who else? I think that's it. I don't think I have anybody else. I don't have Josh Allen. I don't have Diggs. I think Stephon Diggs has a big game tonight. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, you got a team that's not good at running, and then you got a team that's going up against a team that has a good run defense. So, I think, this is going to be a game that's won through the air tonight. But we'll see. Again, predictions have been bad. I got the Bills covering the spread, winning by 10 at least. I think this has to be their get-right game. It has to. And if it's not, like I said, then I don't know. But you know what? With everything else that's going on, I don't know what's going on. I don't know anything. Because, you got teams that you thought were really good, and then now they've been struggling. I mean, the season's been like a roller coaster. So, but hopefully it's a good game. I mean, that's the main thing. As long as it's a good game, I don't care. I really don't care. If it's a good game, that's really all that matters in the end. Sorry, my nose, allergies again, acting up today. But yeah, I mean, that's all that matters. I just want a good game. Last Thursday was good. So hopefully we continue that trend. But both teams need to win. That's the bottom line. Both teams need to win this game, and only one of them is going to, unless they tie, which, knock on wood, there is no tie. Thankfully, There have been no ties up until this point, and I hope that continues. That's one thing that the NFL needs to change. You need to play until somebody wins. You can't have you can't end in a tie, because it just screws everything up. And it was crazy that almost a couple years ago, the Steelers, they almost missed the playoffs when the Raiders and the Chargers almost tied. Because that was the only scenario that would have, kept them out of the playoffs, is if they tied. And they almost did, but they didn't, thankfully. Not that it really mattered. The Steelers didn't go anywhere, but still. But no ties tonight. I don't think there will be a tie, but if there is, then, then I don't know what to say. But, yeah, I think the Bills should wake up tonight. Again, they're going up against a good defense. But I don't know. The Bucs offense has not looked good. I mean, they've scored 19 points in the last 2 games, and that's at home. Now you're going on the road, hostile environment. Yeah, I think the Bills, this is their get-right game. It should be. And then for the Bucs, I mean, if they lose, then they're going to, drop to 3-4. So they're going to have to hope that the other teams in their division lose as well. But, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Bucs do. I mean, they're, I talked about that that rumor, or that hypothetical that I saw of maybe they trade for Derrick Henry. I mean, maybe you try to get Fournette back. Try to improve this running game. Because, right now with Rachaad White as the lead back, it hasn't really been working. So, I think the Bucs obviously are going to be looking to, get some players. Because, I mean, they still have a shot at this division. I mean, this loss, it's not like it's going to be, the end for them. But they need to win tonight as well. They're coming off of 2 losses at home, which is not good. And it's not. This game is going to be very tough to win tonight. But, talked about it in the opening. I mean, this division, it's really up. It's up for grabs for the top 3 teams. Obviously counting out the Panthers. So, we'll see what happens. But I don't know. What will this game bring us tonight? Let me know what you guys think about this game tonight. Who do you guys have winning? Do you think the Bucs are going to pull off the upset tonight, or do the Bills get back on track and win this game tonight? Let me know what you guys think. But yeah, that's pretty much it with the show for today. We'll be back again tomorrow. We're going to discuss all the games, preview all the games for this weekend. In Week 8, we're at the halfway point in the season. So that'll be tomorrow's show. And then, of course, after that, we got the GSMC Baseball Podcast previewing the World Series. We'll recap all the championship series. Well, not all, but both. There's only 2 series. Some other headlines around there as well, around the league that we'll get into as well. That'll be for the baseball show tomorrow. But yeah, make sure to tune in for the doubleheader tomorrow. I'll be shortly after this. I'll be recording the Patreon portion of this episode. And yeah, again, we're almost another week is almost over already. I mean, the weeks are just flying by, which I'm always going to mention. It's been crazy, but yeah, that's it from me for today. Once again, I thank you guys for tuning in, for your comments. Make sure, again, for future shows, if you want to get your comment recognized, make sure to go to the link, streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip, again on the ticker below, to get your comments recognized, for me to talk about your comment on the broadcast, to get, the conversation going between me and the viewers. And then, of course, for the Patreons, go to patreon.com and search up GSMC Sports Network for all the bonus content for my podcast, as well as the other podcasts as well. So until then, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the game tonight, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.